Namaste, everyone. Tonight we're going to do a eclipse ceremony for the powerful, profound eclipse that is happening in early June. And this particular eclipse is very pressurizing on us as human beings because this eclipse is demanding transformation. There is a strong Pluto force with this eclipse. As you can see in the United States of America, there's definitely a Pluto force of transformation and liberation. So this eclipse is going to be very pressurizing on us. We're going to be, in many ways, feel forced out of our comfort zone, and we're going to be put into a mindset, put into an idea, put into a new lifestyle, even a new relationship, even a new location when it comes to the seeding of it and the sort of making it happen in the months to come, particularly from now to July, August. So we're definitely being pressured to make that transformation, to have that quantum leap. And the transformation that we're making now up until July, August is going to be driven by this Pluto energy, which has everything to do with embodying your soul, getting to know your soul, and vibrating at the soul level. So there's a lot of getting to know your soul. There's a lot of liberation. There's a lot of fearlessness. There's a lot of transformation in the way of breaking beyond your limitations, breaking beyond your restrictions, breaking beyond your perceived judgments that have you confined in. And there's a sense of wanting to level up the potential for what we are capable of doing as a human species on this planet when it comes to connecting with our soul, connecting with another person's soul, and really being vulnerable and having that sort of unity that comes through actual genuine heart-to-heart conversation. So a lot of this eclipse energy is really penetrating the heart of human beings. And the heart of human beings, there's also, we can call there's the dark, like the dark side of the moon, right? The moon represents the feminine energy. It represents the Ma frequency, and the moon, is about that unconscious, is about the heart, and the heart is about the soul's desire, the soul's incarnational blueprint or expression or purpose in this lifetime, right? The soul's unconscious healing and wounds and that wanting to be resolved in this lifetime. We could say the ties to person, place, or thing that we may carry residue from previous lifetimes that are fragmented piece of ourselves, right? That's hanging in an incarnation that's causing us to feel unsettled, even restless, even feeling unnerved. And many of us feel unnerved because of this sort of dark side of the moon, right? When it comes to our own heart, when it comes to our own dealing with our emotions and dealing with our soul. So there's a lot of this sort of fire energy with the heart, right? The fire, we call the fire of destruction, right? The fire of destruction. In that fire, in many ways, that rage and that frustration with Pluto will definitely, in astrology, before Pluto was really established in astrology, Pluto was the same as Mars. Mars and Pluto basically were the same before Pluto was established in our astrology today, right? Mars was the Pluto, and Mars is all about the rage. And many times it's about the fire of perseverance, right? And a lot of times perseverance has a lot to do with turning your resentment into resilience, right? And being able to hold that resilience for a period of time. That's that Mars, that warrior. And Pluto is very much about being the warrior of your soul, remembering that you are infinite, remembering that you are deathless, remembering that you are fearless, remembering that you have a soul's purpose. in this incarnation. So Pluto reminds you of the bigger picture. So when you're in some sort of rat race, or when you're in some sort of matrix system that has you feeling powerless, or has you unexpressed, you feel unheard, unseen, you're in these belief systems that are self-belittling, or you frankly just don't feel like you belong, Pluto is like, you belong. That's the kind of the spoken word of Pluto is, you belong, right? You have a purpose. And this purpose of Pluto is more subtle than we think it is. It's really about you wanting to master you wanting to get to know you wanting to make peace with these past lives, make peace with these habits and behaviors from past lives, peace with loved ones, either deceased loved ones in this life or past life connections, right, that you're longing for, that you want to heal in this life, right? It can be very subtle. It's really about you becoming a healer, right? And using that fire, that Mars rage and frustration and that heat you call hothead, right? Use that hothead to really become a revolutionary mind, which is a very soulful mind, a very philosophical mind, a very sovereign mind, very independent mind. In a world of groupthink, in a world where we, in many ways, follow each other, follow the matrix, right? We're all seduced by who, throw us a bone and we all go chasing for the bone, even though we realize the bone is fake. It's actually not even the bone. We're all chasing it like some dog, but we don't even realize that bone was not even real. It's a distraction, right? So all of this type of magic shows, Yogi Bhajan has called it, he calls life, the earth, this sort of experiment, right? This sort of program of earth, right? Is a magic show, like Wizard of Oz. We spend so much time wanting to meet the Wizard of Oz to realize the Wizard of Oz is a hoax, a sham, a charlatan, right? And then, realizing that the real magic, as Dorothy, comes to conclusion as she meets the Wizard of Oz, the sham, right? She realizes actually was about uniting with the people she met. You think about the lion, the Tin Man, the Scarecrow. It was really about the power of Dorothy's story in Wizard of Oz was not so much about the wizard, meaning the charlatan, right? It was in the magic show and the whole hoax and the matrix of it all, right? And that kind of coward, hiding behind a mask, that kind of coward thing, right? To embarrass, to actually be in your integrity and provide the truth, right? So the real power that Dorothy discovers is the connection, is the journey, is the empowerment that comes about through the lion getting its courage, the Tin Man getting its heart, the Scarecrow getting its brain, right? And that's a symbolism, a very wonderful symbolism for what we as human beings really want to do. We want to gain our courage. We want to gain our heart. We want to gain our mind. We don't want to be a scarecrow and just have no brain and be like, completely at the mercy of whoever's out there and easily seduced into these beliefs and judgments that, that put us in past and maybe we don't need to go down, right? Because we don't have the brain to actually have the sovereignty to say, ooh, let me have discernment and boundaries, right? Let me think for myself, right? So thinking for yourself, is the Scarecrow. We want that, the lion, the courage, right? To speak up for ourselves, right? To stand up for the innocent, for the vulnerable, right? That's the warrior, that's the Mars, right? And then the Tin Man, the heart, right? The heart is what we are constantly, in many lifetimes, we want the heart, we want the fire of our heart. We want to see the candle of our heart lit. And that is really the real mastery, right? The real sort of, you could say, revelation, the conclusion of that sort of story of Dorothy is that coming together, having that togetherness, that intimacy, those bonds with the people she met while she was chasing the Wizard of Oz. So all of us in many ways have a Wizard of Oz. We're chasing money and fame and all of these things that we think is going to reveal to us the power of our making, right? And it's usually those connections, the sort of connections with other people, sisterhood, brotherhood, that we really step into our empowerment, really step into our excellence as a human being, right? Not in the, oh, I got this, that, and the other, but then I have no connections. I have no brain. I have no heart. I have no courage. I'm just sitting here like a Wizard of Oz, hiding behind all my stuff, right? Like the Wizard of Oz, hiding behind all my stuff, but having no mind, no brain, having no heart, having no courage, and then feeling very weak. You know, when you saw the Wizard of Oz, he looked very weak, very like timid, and like looked very weak, very emotionally bankrupt, right? And all of us are experiencing that. So this Pluto is helping us to realize that what we are actually seeking is in each other. We're seeking a quality of connection and intimacy and heart-to-heart conversation that we've never had before on this planet in this dark age, right? We want that. That's what we're looking for the future. That's what we really are longing for, is heart-to-heart conversations, right? We're looking for deeper intimacy. We're looking for deeper bonds. We actually want to trust each other. We want to learn discernment and boundaries. And in many ways, this Pluto is really, in many ways, bringing up a lot of our trauma associated with connecting with people, right? It's bringing up the trauma of connecting with people that we've experienced in the dark age, where you can't trust this person, you can't trust that person, right? We're all out to get each other, all in secret groups trying to organize our secret agendas and all against each other, right? That's a Pluto trauma that the planet has when it comes to connecting with other people and being afraid to actually connect soul to soul. When we think of like organized religion, a lot of it, in my understanding of being at the Catholic Church, a lot of it in many ways was like looking at the sort of altar of Jesus Christ, and not even like, only like there was only like a minute where you would actually give awareness to the people around you, right? And I think these new generations are wanting to reform that type of model in the way that we connect with each other, where we're more so focused on becoming like Jesus, right, than actually having those soul awakenings that we have with each other when we see self and other. Even Yogi Bhajan has mentioned the highest union is not yoga, it's not mantra recitation, it's actually union with another human being. That could be with your mother, that could be with your husband or wife, that could be with your kids, that could be with your ancestors, that could be with your neighbor. That is sort of the highest fulfillment when we talk about union, right? And that can even be with pets, that can be with nature, right? It's just seeing self and other. Either you're seeing yourself in a tree, or you're in a pet, right? Or your horse, or your kid, or your mother. Let's say you live with your mother out in the mountains, who knows, right? It's that union that really is the practice of the sort of creative and spiritual fulfillment, is to experience a deep intimacy. I think that's the highest creative fulfillment, is experiencing of a deep intimacy with another human being. And that is what this eclipse is really bringing out. Again, the dark face of the moon is, there's a lot of trauma when it comes to connecting with people, right? Like I said, in the dark age, it's like, all these secret groups, all their agendas and against each other. And we've experienced this period, especially in the United States of America, not here in this soil, but definitely in history, we've experienced multiple, throughout the dark age, multiple type of the trauma of, we just don't know how to connect. And it shows up in our mindless sex culture. It shows up in our, relationship cultures, where, when it comes to people don't know how to connect, when it comes to love relationship with their kids, like there's a sense of, I don't know how to connect. I don't know how to connect. I don't know how to be heartfelt. I don't know how to connect, because there's a lot of trauma, there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of fear of being able to connect. So that's why a lot of us, with preparing for union with other people, we do a lot of deconstructing of parental phobias with the father, with the mother, with sort of deconstructing of judgment and belief systems associated with the childhood and caretakers and teachers and other people in our life that we've experienced, right? Before we can actually, raise our self-worth to actually have a very deep and fulfilling intimate connection. A lot of us on this planet Earth, having a deep intimate connection, a heart-to-heart connection, is not something that it's something that you really have to deconstruct and work through this Pluto trauma that we all have when it comes to connecting with your soul and feeling. Again, when you're connecting with your soul, all kinds of things come up, being crucified, being lynched, being ridiculed, being stoned, all of this stuff comes up because this whole dark age patriarchal paradigm had a lot to do with targeting, these type of liberated people, these empowerment sort of people, connecting people to the soul. It's almost like it was forbidden to connect with your soul, right? To connect actually with your soul. It is, you can connect with Jesus Christ and go to church, the Catholic Church, but when you connect with your soul through mantra recitation, that's something that's a no-no, because it puts the power in you and it puts the manifestation in you. And therefore you're no longer sort of codependent. You're no longer begging, right, for the elite group or whatever group that's perceived to be the superior, begging for them to, kissing their feet for them to give you a crumb, right? And that's something that this Pluto is really kind of bringing up to the surface, so that we can really take this resentment, this Mars energy, as well as this, again, Pluto, take this sort of resentment and turn it into resilience, turn it into perseverance, turn it into intuition. And that's what a lot of this practice is about. Manifestation, what we're going to do for this eclipse ceremony, is about developing intuition. Once you turn that resentment into resilience, that resilience into perseverance, that perseverance into sovereignty, you have intuition. Intuition is why we spend so much time, you could say, as yogis, deconstructing a lot of these fears and paranoias and phobias and all kinds of belief systems and all kinds of traumas and curses that we're presented with on this planet Earth, right? So we deconstruct a lot of that so we can really get back to our innocence, that intuitive awareness, that creative destiny, which is the Pluto, your innocence. Right, Pluto has all kinds of trauma in working through that trauma, and really coming into your spiritual power. Your alchemy, which is about fearlessness, deathlessness, right? In transformation, like the phoenix rising out of the ashes, resurrecting yourself, right, from poverty or from whatever that has you at a rock bottom, or has you feeling in the low of the low, right? To resurrect. How do I resurrect myself? How do I transform myself? How do I experience the victory of my incarnation? What tools, techniques, talents do I need to do that? Right? That's the sort of Pluto being, when you're in it, Pluto will give you directly the tool, the technique, the talent. If you go to Pluto in your astrocartography, or if you charge or activate your Pluto in your astrological chart, right? For me, I have North Node Pluto, so automatically that's always charged and activated with every eclipse, right? But if you go and actively sort of put energy on that Pluto, you will find tool, technique, and talent becomes available to you. It actually unlocks in you, right, from past lives, where you probably, and all of us, if you're watching this, where you most likely have spent many incarnations in a warrior practice, in a sort of deathless, fearless practice of some sort of mantra recitation. Because Pluto, I see Pluto as the finest mantra recitation, the finest mantra recitation practitioner. When you're really in the highest octave of Pluto is basically a sound current, is basically a very powerful mantra recitation. that has probably been going on for lifetimes. So when I, the mantra itself, mantra recitation, in many ways, it's like you're connecting, you're activating the Pluto, because when you're working with spiritual alchemy, transmutation, automatically you're stepped into your Pluto. But when we're dealing with the charge of resentment and rage and anger, the trauma, right, we can many times reenact that. We play it out, right? We continue the loop. We keep continuing the loop, right? It's the karma, the cause and effect, the cause and effect, the cause and effect, until Pluto, you get some sort of higher energy in the system, and you turn this into resilience, right? And that becomes perseverance, and then that becomes sovereignty, and that becomes intuition, right? And that intuition is being able to look at everything and all of whatever the agendas and all the conspiracies and rabbit holes, and they're doing this over here and they're doing that over there, and all that kind of stuff, and be able to see your creative destiny within the chaos of all of this magic show that's going on, to see your creative destiny, to focus on it, and to achieve it, right, amongst the chaos. That's kind of like the eye of the storm. That's kind of like, you know how to position yourself so you're always in the eye of the storm, right? And that's intuition, right? That's sound current. So Pluto is like your sound current, and the sound current is your intuition, because your unspoken sound is basically your protection. It's also your discernment. It's also your radiance, and it's also your magnetism and your ability to demagnetize situations that maybe you could have brought in if you weren't paying attention, right? If you didn't know how to demagnetize, or how to, we could say cut it out, whatever that you need to, cut it out, right? So we're going to work on this project together, and this is a fun project, eclipse ceremony project. So you're going to need a jar, and again, if you don't have the material, you just, figure it out and come back later, right? And just do the sort of Kriya part. And then I also have some rocks, some white sort of rocks. And then I also have some seeds, some corn seeds, and all of this is symbolic, right? And then I have sand, and I have chosen blue sand because of the blue arcoin. And then I have these little bags, basically they're crystal, where you go to the crystal store, they give you these little bags to contain the crystals. You're going to need scissors, you're going to need a paper, and that's pretty much it when it comes to you making your, I'm going to call your honey, it's called a honey jar. And this is for a manifestation practice for love relationship. Like I said, there's a lot about, everybody yearns for a deeper connection, deeper intimacy, deeper love, but nobody knows how to really have it, because there's a lot of phobia, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of anxiety about actually trusting each other. And that has a lot to do with where we've been in the dark age, where, we're basically in many ways terrified of each other. Right, so a lot of that is going to have to take an active practice of deconstructing these fears, and replace these fears and these words with intuition. That's what's really going to set us free, is intuition. Where, Yogi Bhajan, he could look into somebody's psyche and just automatically see what they're all about. And that's the kind of quality, sensitivity we need on this planet, because we're always going to have polarity. We're always going to have bozos and all that kind of stuff. But when you have intuition, you can see into that person even 3 to 9 seconds before they even come up to you. You can just see them in the crowd, and you can just know by their eyes, by their psyche. You can just know. And that's a gift, right? And that's a lot more of a defensive gift than just getting into it, not listening to your intuition, realizing, wait a minute, trying to pull out, and then, there's that kind of thing, right? So the real defense as human beings is intuition. To be able to have the sensitivity, the innocence, to look at somebody look at your surroundings and to be able to feel into it from many perspectives, and to feel where you need to be to always be in the eye of the storm, right? That's called the right place at the right time. And that's what basically yogis spend incarnations working on, right? So we're going to tune in now. So bring the hands together. Inhale. Exhale.